Hello students. So now we are going to understand about kinematic equations. See, in class 9 we have already understood that there are three equations of motions and we have derived that using the graphical method. Basically, you can take a velocity time graph, alright, so this is velocity, this is time, and using this graph and the basic knowledge that its slope is acceleration, its area under the curve is displacement, using all those knowledge, we can easily define and then derive the equations of motion, okay. But in this case, I'm not going to directly use this graphical method. Instead, we have understood the mathematics of calculus, okay. That is your integration as well as differentiation. So using these mathematical tools, we are going to again derive these equations, and in that process, we are going to see that how exactly we can solve even real life problems. Okay, so that is why this deriving of the equations through this specific method is very important to understand. Okay, so here we can clearly see that up to this point, there are basically 4 parameters of motion. That is, if you want to measure motion, if you want to understand about motion, you can understand it by defining these 4 parameters, which is your displacement. Now, this displacement can also be understood as position. Okay. So, either you see the position of any object and then that position changes, accordingly you can calculate the displacement. Then comes your velocity, right? The rate of change of position is your velocity, and then rate of change of velocity is your acceleration. And all of these things and changes in these things are being compared with time. That is, with respect to time, how these physical quantities are changing. So all in all, there are these 4 specific parameters of motion. They are denoted by displacement or position is denoted by x, velocity by v, acceleration by a, time by t. Now, in this case, you have to understand, and I hope you remember this, that we used to define initial velocity or initial position, then there can be initial acceleration, all of these things. So, in terms of velocity, the initial velocity can be u or the final velocity, right? Final velocity can be v, okay? Now again, these are just the symbols, the general symbols that we have been using up to this point. That is why I'm going to use the same symbols in the derivation of these equations as well.